Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. OMG, I know I'm 10 minutes late. And of course, this show is always at 8 p.m., but I'm late tonight. But I'll explain later once you're online. But anyway, we will be waiting for you. No, I will be waiting for you. I'm the only one. I will be waiting for you guys to pick up the notification, and then we will be starting in a bit. And of course, our podcast episode for tonight is all about Motivation Monday because we are all about motivations every single Monday, and we'll wait for you, right? And of course, I'll be waiting for you to post where you're watching from so that I will also find out where you're watching from. I really love it when people post where they're watching from. It's exciting and it's like validating what technology can do for all of us, like finding out who's talking where despite the different time zones. Yeah, I'm blabbering, but whatever. You get what I'm saying. So, this has been a drill for all those who have been watching my podcast episodes ever since 2018. You would know that I always ask where you're watching from because it's just really fun knowing the different parts of the world where you're watching from. Anyway, good evening to those who are now there in the audience. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'd like to greet hindi ka na yaya ngayon ah. Hello, Sir Joseph. Good evening. And of course, yung ribbon talaga yung nagdala. Remember the ribbon? Yung last time, I thought it was really pretty. And then I realized that people were staring at me because it was the ribbon with the price tag. So, ito yon. Ito yung ribbon. Nakakaloka. So again, welcome back to our podcast episode, which is all about Motivation Monday. I hope my signal's really working well because I wouldn't know otherwise. Okay, I'm just checking if I'm really live on my page or I'm on my personal page because that's gonna be a bummer if I went live in another in another Facebook page. Okay, and once again, good evening, everyone. And to those who are watching via or from different time zones, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, or wherever you're watching from. Thank you so much for tuning in. And also, I would like to greet those who are watching via replay. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. And yes, those who do not have Facebook accounts, well, just in case you get offline or maybe you cannot access your Facebook, we also have the podcast episodes on my official YouTube channel. So if you want to watch through your TV, pwede rin. Pero feeling ko, ewan ko lang. Parang laki ng mukha ko no, for sure. Kasi nasa big screen. But yeah, I've never really done that. Maybe I should. I should watch myself on YouTube. I've never watched, like, no, I watched some of my podcast episodes, pero sobrang random lang. Like, I wouldn't last more than 10 minutes. Kasi diba, there's a study that says that you will always be annoyed by listening to the sound of your own voice. So I think that also works with, watching yourself. It's strange. But anyway, welcome back to our Motivation Monday. I'm just so excited to talk, I think the last time I went online was Monday last week, and I've been offline pretty much the entire week because of so many things to do on my list, like everybody else. But of course, I'm making bawit tonight. So our topic for tonight is all about personal productivity. This is something that I'm really passionate about these days because I believe I'm also struggling with the same thing about productivity because like most of the people have struggled with productivity ever since the pandemic happened because not all people are okay with working from home. So nagkaroon talaga ng struggle in terms of personal productivity. So we'll talk about that tonight. But before that, let me introduce myself for those who do not know me yet. Especially if you're new to the channel, please kaway-kaway naman kayo kung bago kayo sa channel ko. Please let me know where you're watching from and what brought you to this page. I'm really excited to hear that one kasi hindi ko alam kung paano kayo, di bakit, pero kung paano kayo napadpad sa channel ko. Yun, I'm curious about that. Okay, so my name is Irene. I'm a licensed real estate broker in the Philippines. I'm also a motivational speaker and a writer. And I do a lot of things in between, but for branding purposes, let's stick to that where we don't get confused. And also, I think medyo annoying yung light. I don't really know how to use the light. So, feeling ko nag-blink-blink siya kanina pa. So, pardon me na lang, ayan. Nag-on and off siya. Hindi ko alam kung paano aayusin yung light ko. It's new, so I don't really know how to use it. But anyway, let's start this conversation. So, to those of you who are new to the channel, you can definitely join the conversation. This is a live stream, and one of the advantages of a live stream is you can get to interact with me live and with everyone in the audience. So if you want to join the conversation, do not hesitate to post your comments on the comment section below. So let's start the conversation. So this is how it works. We start with defining what our topic is all about for tonight. So our topic is personal productivity. And according to a website, it is all about completing the actions that move you closer to accomplishing your goals in a manner that brings balance and ease into your life. It's all about completing an action cycle. So it's really finishing what you want to accomplish. Kasi diba, every person has a goal. And I'm not sure if most people do this, but what I personally do is I have a to-do list. And I would tick it off every time that I've accomplished something. But most of the time, when we have so many things on that list, it's so hard for us to complete, no? To complete the to-do list. Alam niyo yun? Ay, hello po, Miss Lynn. Yeah, I know, right? Hindi ko alam kung paano siya adjust. Ita-try ko, pero I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Okay, so ang dami niya kasing, ayun. Ang dami. I don't really know how to use it. Okay, I don't know how to make it like just stop blinking. It keeps on blinking. So sorry po. So maybe tomorrow I'll find out how to use this one. Because I just want it like that sana, and then it keeps on blinking. So okay. I hope it works perfectly well next time. Okay. So knowing what your objectives are and the actions necessary to reach them is a trick to boosting your personal productivity practices. So yun talaga yung goal natin, is to make sure that all our goals are accomplished. But the thing is, there are so many challenges to personal productivity, and I'll list down some of them. And if you feel na you can relate to this, you can definitely join the conversation. Okay. So, challenges along personal productivity. The first one is multitasking. This is very common with, especially nung nag-work from home. Multitasking has become a common thing. So, while you're working, you're also watching your kids, or you're also cooking maybe, or you're probably a student and you're listening to your lectures and you're also doing something else. Kasi di ba pag nasa loob ka ng bahay, it's so hard not to multitask. Especially if you can see a lot of things are not in order. So you tend to multitask. And that definitely affects our personal productivity, because if you are not focused on one task at a time, it tends to lessen your productivity level. For example, if you're cooking and you're washing the clothes at the same time, di ba ang hirap mag-focus? Kasi nga, you are doing two things at a time. It can get hard. Wait lang. I'm really distracted, so maybe I should just turn off my light. I think this one's better, no? Wala na lang, ano bang tawag nito? Wala na lang akong, ano ba tawag dito sa light na to? Yung bilog. Hi, Lani! Turuan mo ako maglagay ng ribbon sa hair. No, it's actually just a headband. It's just a headband. Better, no? Wala na akong blink-blink something. I really don't know how to use this bilog thing. Anong tawag nga dito? Dito sa light na to. I really don't know. So, anyway, I bought this last time with the hopes that I will be able to use it properly. Pero, it's not working. So, I'll pause it there. I'll stop it muna. I'll use the natural lighting. Ayan, feeling ko mas lang ako dito. Mas malabo. I'm not sure. Basta malinaw yung boses ko, I think. Okay na tayo doon. Okay. So, multitasking. Multitasking is one of the challenges along personal productivity. Um, Most of our jobs can actually allow multitasking. Most of our jobs, but not all. Just imagine, I have firefighters in the audience. They cannot multitask, obviously, while extinguishing a fire. They cannot multitask, no? Hindi sila pwedeng gumawa ng iba pang task bukod sa, let's say, firefighting. Okay, but syempre in the office, we tend to do that. No, we have so many tasks that we do, parang so many tasks at a given time, which actually lessens our productivity. Yun yung tinatawag nga nating counterproductive. Kasi akala natin, when we are multitasking, mas marami tayong nagagawa. Actually, hindi. Sometimes, sometimes, mas nagiging disadvantage siya kaysa nagiging advantage when we are talking about productivity. Next is not knowing where, when, and how to start. Okay, that's another challenge along productivity. Kaya nga, if you will go back to our previous podcast episodes, I talked about procrastination because there are a lot of people who are overwhelmed. And I'm included, hindi ko po alam sa mga nasa audience. Pero ako talaga, madalas, no, aminado ako, in all honesty, real talk tayo dito, sobrang mabilis akong ma-overwhelm kapag sobrang dami ko talagang ginagawa. Because I have so many projects, for example, and sabay-sabay silang magde-deadline. Madalas akong ma-overwhelm nun. And it's easy to be overwhelmed because you don't really know which one to prioritize. That's why in one of my podcast episodes, I think I talked about how to not procrastinate. So if you are looking for it, you can just search for it in the previous podcast episodes. How to avoid procrastination. It's also there. It's been there. But yes, not knowing where, when, and how to start is a challenge when we are talking about personal productivity. Kasi, when you don't know how to start, or when to start, or where to start, paano ka matatapos ng gagawin mo, hindi mo nga siya alam paano simulan. So the key thing here is, we will be talking about this on improving personal productivity later on. Next is the weak foundation of knowledge for tasks ahead. Okay, weak foundation of knowledge. Hindi mo masyadong alam kung paano mo gagawin or paano mo tatapusin yung mga tasks at hand. And of course, one of the things that scares us on a daily basis is not knowing what to do. Kaya tayo na-overwhelmed, kaya tayo natatakot gawin yung mga bagay-bagay kasi hindi natin alam kung paano sila gagawin. So, yun yung isa sa mga challenges din along personal productivity. Next is having a disorganized and chaotic work setting. This is in one of the studies that I've read, most of the people are visual, like 80% of the people are visual. And when something is cluttered, for example, yung workplace natin, makalat or magulo, it's so hard to focus. It's so hard to be productive. So, the thing is, if you are working, especially when you're working from home, hindi maiwasan, di ba? Aminin natin to sarili natin. Hindi natin maiwasan na nagiging disorganized yung work setting natin or yung work setup natin. Basically because we live with other people inside our home. And so, hindi naman sa sinisisi natin sila, pero again, it's really hard to maintain an organized work setting, especially if you're working from home. Sa office naman, it can be disorganized, especially if you are sharing, depende sa arrangement ng tables ninyo. If you have so many people in your office, sometimes it gets to be disorganized. Or if you have like an open plan, an open plan layout, ang nangyayari, so magkakatabi, for example, yung mga tables, minsan may mga ibang tables na makalat, even if it's not your own table, pero nakikita mong makalat yung ibang tables, it also affects your personal productivity. Hello, Sir Yavo. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you. Okay, next is taking up all the work by yourself. And to those of you who have been my previous students, or who have been my students in the previous classes that I've taught, you would have listened to one of my lectures about delegation. Pero hindi lahat ng bagay pwedeng i-delegate. Pero pwede nating i-try. Kahit hindi sa workplace, kahit sa loob ng bahay, we can delegate. Kung pwede namang i-delegate natin. Of course, may mga certain parameters on what you can delegate. But the thing is, if you get all the work, or if you do all the work all by yourself, obviously mas counterproductive 'yon. Hindi mo agad matatapos lahat-lahat because you're doing all the work by yourself. And that's the beauty of working with other people, or working with others, because you can then delegate, or maybe you can share the workload with them. Next is, again, it's procrastination. I've mentioned that earlier, that we actually have an entire podcast episode dedicated to procrastination. If you want to watch that, you can definitely visit the channel. You can also go to YouTube and look for my channel there. It's also Ivorine, by the way, so you can just check it out, about procrastination. And of course, knowing the difference between being busy and being productive. People think that busy and productive are similar to each other. Actually, they're totally different. So, pwede ka kasing maging busy pero hindi productive. Pwede ka naman kasing maging productive nang hindi ka busy. For example, if I'm busy texting, it doesn't automatically mean that I'm productive. For example, I'm just busy texting. May ka-text lang ako, may ka-chat lang ako. So, how do I know if I'm being productive? Kung work-related yon, siguro, pwede. Pero if I'm just texting the entire day, for example, Facebook ako ng Facebook the entire day, I can be busy doing Facebook. Diba? Naglalurk lang ako sa Facebook. But that doesn't mean that I'm productive. But for example, if my job is, let's say, I'm a social media manager, I'm on Facebook the entire day, and since it's my job, then I'm being productive. But again, depende sa ginagawa ko. Kasi pwede namang busy ako doing nothing. Pwede na namang productive ako. I did everything, pero productive ako, pero hindi pa rin ako busy. So for the longest time, people are asking me, how do I manage my time? Because I have several things on my plate which are not related at all. For example, I write for a magazine. I also do real estate. And I'm doing this. And I can still hang out with my family and friends. So how do I do that? Well, the thing is, you really just have to plan, and you just really have to manage your time well para magawa mo everything. Kasi minsan, iniisip natin na parang it's not possible. Like, we are always claiming that we're busy, but actually, we have to aim to be productive rather than being busy. Kasi pag sinabi mong busy ka, tapos wala ka talagang time for like personal stuff, or maybe yung more important things in your life, then it doesn't make a lot of sense for you then. Parang puro work na lang, and then yung mga taong dahilan kung ba't ka nagtatrabaho, hindi mo naman nagagawa yung mga bagay na yon, di sayang naman, 'di ba? Sayang ng time mo din. You're gonna miss out on a lot of things if you're just telling yourself, if you're just convincing yourself that you're busy and that you cannot spend time with this and that because you're busy, and you'll end up missing out on a lot of things. And FOMO is real. Like, millennials lang ang nag-label nitong feeling na to, yung feeling of missing out or FOMO. But it's actually a real deal. If you're so busy that you miss out on your kids, or you miss out on the personal events, the happy events in your life, what are you working for then, diba? Parang, sayang naman ang pinagtatrabahuhan natin kung yung mga taong dahilan ba tayo nagtatrabaho, hindi naman natin sila nakakasama. Okay, so we have to still find time for them. So we really have to increase our productivity and lessen the busy schedule. Okay? So how do we improve our personal productivity? The first one is to remove the temptations that derail you from your goal. Okay, so this is varying from one person to another. One person may consider this as a temptation. Another person can actually think that it's not a temptation for them because it's a part of their job. And so what are the temptations? Personally, for me, it's hanging out. Like, talagang hanging out lang, wala kang ginagawa. So it's very tempting to just be hanging out and do nothing, or just lie down and just be a couch potato. It's very tempting. But once you start being a couch potato, you're never really gonna achieve anything. So remove those temptations. No, don't remove the couch, but remove yourself from the couch. Okay, so I hope you're getting this really clearly, because this is really important that we remove those temptations, which may eventually affect our productivity. So, for example, if your phone affects your productivity, or if your phone affects your focus, then you should put your phone somewhere which isn't accessible to you. So that's what I do. What I usually do is just put my phone, like if I'm working in the living room, I put my phone in the kitchen. Kitchen talaga. I put my phone in the bedroom, for example, so that I don't really get to see it, and I don't really feel the need to pick it up every now and then. Especially people call me like, I think people call me 24/7 for several reasons. So yes, so remove the temptations. The second one is focus on the bigger tasks first before you get all before you get into details. So bigger tasks, kasi the bigger tasks are really overwhelming. So you start with that. Kasi when you start on the bigger tasks, the easier task or the smaller tasks become really easy. Kasi nasimulan mo na yung bigger task. What I usually do is if it involves a lot of thinking, for example, a task involves a lot of thinking, like meetings. My meetings are always in the morning. Always in the morning. I don't want meetings to take place in the afternoon or in the evening. Or usually if it's in the evening, it's socialization. There may be a little bit of business talk, but the heavy business talk always happens in the morning, because when it's morning, when it's done in the morning, I have more energy. I'm refreshed. I just came from sleep, so definitely I have more ideas, and it's more productive to have your meetings in the morning, especially if you're a morning person. Of course, I do not say this for everyone, because not everyone is a morning person, but I'm a morning person, so I prefer all my heavy thinking activities in the morning. Mas maganda kasing mag-meeting ka kapag, you have fresh thoughts, fresh ideas, you haven't really done a lot of things yet. So that's the best time to schedule a meeting or any heavy thinking activity. Okay, and next is set aside and schedule physically laboring tasks for times when you can't get your mental juices flowing. You have physically laboring tasks. One example of that is doing household chores. I'm saying this especially to those who are working from home. Alam nyo ba kung bakit paulit-ulit ako ng working from home? Kasi maybe 80% of the people that we're working with, or maybe 80% of the people that we know, are actually working from home because of the setup right now amidst the pandemic. And also, if they're not working from home, there's also what we call as the hybrid one, wherein you're working from home 50% of your time, and then 50% of your time you're reporting for work in the office, like physically reporting for work. So then, if you're working from home, you tend to see all the things that you have to do. Like, you suddenly notice that the plates are not yet washed. You suddenly notice that you need to boil water, blah, blah, blah. So you really need to schedule a specific time for that. You don't do it when it's not scheduled to be done, so that it doesn't affect your productivity. And sobrang guilty ako dito. Ano to? Hi, dog. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, sobrang guilty ako dito. So I have to speak English all the time. Sorry, dog. Okay, I didn't notice your message, but thank you so much for tuning in. So I will have to speak 100% English. Okay, and then I'll speak Taglish. Okay, this is one thing that I'm also guilty of when I'm working from home, because I'm not 100% work from home. I have hybrid. So I have 50% then of my time being spent on physical face-to-face meetings, physical or face-to-face meetings, and then I also have 50% work from home. So I'm also guilty about, doing multitasking, and for example, I'm listening to I'm listening to a meeting, and then I suddenly remember that I have to wash the dishes or maybe clean the room, blah blah blah. And then I would in fact squeeze that in the middle of a very busy schedule. So what happens is that I'm physically tired, I'm mentally tired, and eventually I end up really really tired. Tapos, not everything is done. So you really have to set a schedule for everything. For example, you have your meeting now, so do not, like, even if there are a lot of things to do at home, do not fall into that trap, because you will end up really tired and you will not be able to accomplish anything at the end of the day. So have a schedule. Next is make sure to have breaks regularly and when you feel the need. Okay, one of the pitfalls of, working, not only from home, but just working, we tend to overindulge. So you indulge and then you overindulge, which is a totally different level of indulging. So we tend to indulge in being really busy or doing a lot of things in a day. And then we tend to overindulge, meaning that we are pushing beyond our limits in terms of working. And so what happens is we are so tired today, and then tomorrow we feel like we need to rest because we have been so what do you call this? You have been so consumed the previous day. So it's really counterproductive. So what you can do is to take breaks in the middle of the day, not really a long break, just to do some stretching maybe, or walk around. Lalo na if you're working from home, it's so hard to be walking around. You can walk back and forth in your living room, do your stretching, or if you want to have a coffee break or maybe a tea break, or maybe just stand up and have a break, I call it mental break whenever I need to just pause. So I call it mental break. That's the time that I randomly check my phone, or sometimes I would do some sneak peeks in Netflix, and I'll get back to work. At least I have a break from monotony, because when things get so monotonous, like puro work lang, work 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 work, it can be really stressful and it will drain you, and the next day you don't have anything else, any creative juices, because you've been drained the previous day. So take a break. um, Next is from David Allen. This is from the book from Getting Things Done. That's the book by David Allen. He said that when a task takes less than 2 minutes, don't schedule it. Don't set it aside for later. Don't set a reminder. Just take care of it now, and then it's done. So if that particular task will only take 2 minutes, for example, this is an example. You're paying a bill online. It only takes you what, 2 minutes to pay a bill online. So don't schedule it. Just do it, so that you wouldn't have to forget it or procrastinate about it. If it takes 2 minutes of your time, do it now. Para hindi ka mag-procrastinate and mamaya makalimutan mo pa, edi nagka-problema ka lalo. Excuse me. Next is make time for leisure and pleasurable activities to recharge your soul. And again, it's all about scheduling. You don't have to do this in the middle of the day. You just have to schedule which you just have to choose a schedule which works for you. But you really have to recharge your soul. So leisure and or any pleasurable activities. Recently, I realized that one of my pleasurable activities is walking around my neighborhood, which is really cool. I get to see a lot of cars and cars and cars, and because I really like cars, so it's been pleasurable for me. So I do it every lunch break, and I also do it every 6 p.m. if my time allows, if I don't have a meeting or if I don't have a podcast, for example. So now I wasn't able to do it at 6 p.m., but I did it at 12 noon. So this gives me a chance to refresh my brain, and at the same time it recharges me. It diverts my attention from work to something that's pleasurable. And then when I get back to work, it's just a recharge. It's a breath of fresh air. So make time for leisure and pleasurable activities. Next is to adapt to healthier habits and lifestyle. I think most people who know me would probably be smiling now while I say this, because I'm really guilty about healthy habits. Like I eat a lot of sugar, especially when I'm stressed. But it's something that we should all do. So I'm saying this not only as a reminder for those who are listening right now, but also as a reminder for me, because I badly need to adapt to healthier habits and lifestyle. And well, that includes your eating habits, your exercise, proper amount of sleep, all those things. So please do not forget your to subscribe to healthier habits. Okay. Next is to not rely on your brain to keep note of everything. So most of us, well, I still do that, no, mentally taking note of things. But now it's also more productive if you will make a list so that you can, you will not forget things. It's not only productive, it's also efficient so that you will not be forgetting things that you need to get to do. So make lists, take down notes, and keep them. I mean, we all have a phone for sure, so we can always check our reminders, our notes. My assistant actually gave me an access to my own calendar. She created my calendar. It's funny because I really didn't know how to use the calendar very efficiently. And syempre, we're all getting older and we need to be updated with things. So this is one of the things that I recently learned. The calendar is really a cool feature on your phone. So it gets things done. You can also do your reminders. So make sure to use your smartphones. Hold on, my dog is actually biting my. Okay, so next is, come here, dragon, dragon. No, no biting, okay? Next is, okay, so also this is probably something that you will hear for the first time as an advice, but as we have, as we evolve into a digital world, blah blah blah, we tend to have more options now compared to the past. In the past, we don't really have too many choices, but now we have so many choices. For example, if you're trying to find food, if you're ordering food, there's a lot of options. Like you can go to this food delivery platforms, and then it's easy to drown yourself in several choices. So the thing is, you really just have to have lesser choices. If you have lesser choices, it's easier to decide on what to do or what to eat, for example, or where to go to. So please have lesser choices. It's easier for you to get things done when you do that. So yeah, so those are the things that I can share in terms of improving your personal productivity. I'm pretty sure there are so many other tips that you can share. So if you have any other tips that you can share, please feel free to post them on the comment section, because again, there are so many ways to improve our personal productivity, and the ones that I've shared tonight are just some of the tips that I feel is more, ano ba tawag dun, is more applicable to most people. But there are also some out of this world productivity hacks that we can do so that it will, we will be able to improve our personal productivity. But remember that when we talk about personal productivity, at the end of the day, we should just be really focused on getting things done and having the satisfaction of getting things done. Kasi 'di ba, there's a certain level of satisfaction that we get because of getting things done. You get what I'm saying, right? Kasi it's especially the really complicated ones, like the tasks which are really complicated, really difficult. And once you do them, or once you're done with them, sobrang sarap sa pakiramdam. It really feels good. So again, remember, when it comes to personal productivity, remember, get things done, and remember to be satisfied with what you have done. So along the way, you just have to make sure that you're doing your best while you're doing your tasks, and be happy while you're doing it. Another thing that maybe I would really remind people is not all tasks are satisfying. Kasi 'di ba, we always feel like we don't want to do menial things or mediocre things or tedious things because they're not really making us happy. But remember this, even the smaller tasks, we should do them, because if we don't do them, they're just going to pile up and eventually give us worse problems in the future. So don't feel bad about doing things, the tedious ones and the mediocre ones. For as long as you're doing them, you should find satisfaction in getting the smaller things done. Kasi at the end of the day, again, it's getting things done and being happy with what you've done with your tasks. So there you go. I hope I was able to share some insights on personal productivity that you can personally use. And if you have any other tips, you can share them here as well. And if you have any topics that you want me to talk about, please send me a message through my Facebook page. You can also send me a WhatsApp message. My mobile number is there. You can definitely do so, because of course, it's always good to have more recommendations from you, kasi kayo naman talaga yung pinaka stakeholders ko for this channel. And I'm constantly doing this, obviously, for all the people who have constantly supported my channel, and for those who need to hear some motivation and inspiration and a lot of other things in between. So again, thank you so much. And please try to check also the podcast episodes that I've done in the past. You might be interested in some of them. And if this podcast episode does help you out in any way, or maybe you feel that it will also help other people, just by watching them, or maybe they can get some insights as well, please feel free to share this video. Thank you all so much. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you again by Wednesday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless you all. Bye.